So almost 5 years have passed since the last video, and we're almost ready to go to war again. But I thought I'd show you a few things in the run up to that, because what we've started to have, and this is always a legacy of conquest, is you'll notice that on my menu bar here, and it's probably on your menu bar as well, you'll start seeing a sign here that says dangerous faction. Now, factions are things that happen in your kingdom where groups of people get together to try and engineer some kind of change that is bad for you. That's probably the best way to describe them. So if you remember in a very early stream I talked about the need to keep your vassals, your powerful vassals on side. Well, this is why. Because if lots of your powerful vassals don't like you, they're going to form a faction against you. Now, there's various things you can do to keep people out of factions, to join them yourself against your liege, all those. Again, go off, discover those things for yourself. That's advanced faction. That's factions 201. Not what we're trying to do here. Just trying to get you started in the game. But the other type of faction that tends to pop up is after you've conquered territory, there may be peasant groups in that territory who don't like you as their new ruler. Because remember, this is the medieval world. De jure is a thing, i.e. things belong to titles and kingdoms. And right now we control Antipatria, which isn't really rightfully part of our territory at the moment. It's rightfully part of the Duchy of Dyrrhachium. So the peasants are a bit annoyed. And once this kicks off, you can see that actually there's these peasants, when they fire, when they are angry enough to rise up, and they're at 94% discontent now, will rise up with 30% of our military power. That's fine, we can deal with it. We probably won't even have to call in our alloy when they kick off. But I just thought I'd show you what happens. And you can see that in 3 months they're going to be able to send an ultimatum to us. So we're just going to carry on playing. You'll notice I've also got a bunch of money here accrued. Now again, I'm deliberately not spending all of it, because we're going to need it for some stuff in a bit. But actually, our wooden barracks have finished in our capital down here, and because you can only build one building at a time, I do think it is about time and ready for us to start building some military camps. So we're going to build some military camps here as well. Now you'll note I've built 2 buildings that boost levies. There's a reason why I've focused on that, and we'll get to that in a later video. But for now, let's unpause, and we can see this ticking down. We're 2 months away now. And what's going to happen when that fires is they're going to burst into being and start causing trouble. So we're at 2 months. Let's up the game speed a bit. 1 month. You can fire at any time. What you generally find is pretty quickly. There we go. To the obnoxious Duke John, we have been burdened with your oppressive laws for far too long. No more. We are done paying you taxes. Once your coffers dry up and your larders are empty, you will wish you had treated us more fairly. Now, we could get out of having this war, and we do that by having something called control level change, which we'll come to after we win this war. But the general thing to think is if you get some kind of faction kick off, there is always a way to essentially surrender. And surrendering might not mean you lose territory. It might just mean that you get some negative consequences. And do remember this in Crusader Kings 3. Sometimes, because you are playing a dynasty, you're not playing a country, sometimes you have to take a step back to take a step forward. Maybe all of your vassals decide they want someone else to be the duke instead. As long as they're not threatening to take away your land, maybe sometimes you go, okay, fine, and then you quietly plot revenge. In this instance, we're not going to do this. We know they're only going to be 30% of our military strength. We're going to go, never. A peasant's lot is to serve their lord. And this is going to start a war against these rebels, and it's going to reduce our control by far less. So we're going to hit that. War declared. You will now see that we have this, the peasant uprising. Our liege is in a war again, ignore him. Peasant uprising is here. We're going to say rally the troops, and you can see those are the peasants there already. And again, we're going to hit here. We're going to go raise all here. Now, if he had like 700 troops, what we might actually do is call in our ally again, because we can do. but it's just going to cost us prestige if we do it, and we don't want to spend prestige on that. 600 troops should be enough, and you can see from this little potential battle thing, defending, because we count as a defender if we get there before they finish sieging it. We have more soldiers, higher quality. They do have a better general, but that's fine. We will still beat him. And there we go. Because they only had one army, and he was commanding it, instant win the moment we won that war. So we can go here, we can go and force demands. It's going to end the rebellion, and we're going to imprison their leader. Now, this is a good opportunity to talk about prisons. So, what is your prisons and why are people in it? Well, occasionally you're going to get events that will say, like, this person has broken the law, do you want to imprison them? And you go, yes, I want to imprison them, and then they're in prison. Well, great, fine. Let's have a look at our courtiers, and you'll see that we have a tab under here for prisoners. And you'll see that we have 2 people in prison, both of whom have been imprisoned in wars. He was imprisoned a while back, actually. You have options when people are in prison, and one of them is ransom. Now, sometimes, if someone has money, you can ransom them for money. When they don't have money, you can get a hook. And a hook is allowing people to persuade them to do stuff. But he's not really useful to us. We're going to leave him in prison. One thing I did notice, though, with our rebel leader, and this is quite common with rebel leaders, is actually he's a very good soldier, and he's actually a very good commander. When he was fighting that battle, I could see that he had 27 as a commander skill, which is really, really good. So, yes, he hates us, but actually one thing we might want to do is negotiate his release. So we let him out of prison, and we say, you know what, we're going to let you out, but we're going to take a hook on you, because it might be useful in future. You're going to owe us a favour, basically. And we're going to recruit you. We're going to add you to our court. We're going to negotiate release. And that means, even though he really hates us, and we can do stuff about that later on, you can see actually part of that is just he's angry and it'll tick down one over a year. He's joined our court. And that means he's now available to us with Marshal of 19 if we need a good soldier, basically. Or if we need a good commander. So, he's just handy to have around. So we're going to keep him around. We're now going to disband our army, because we're still waiting here for our truce to expire so that we can start our next war. And if we click on ourself, we can see that truce timer, and it times out in 5 months. So in 5 months, I'm going to start that war, and we'll fight that war, and we'll work out what we need to do. Before we go, though, I think it's quite important to talk about one thing. Now, we got that rebellion because the control in this area was low. So how do we deal with low control? Well, you can see what state the current state of the control is on your map. So if we go to our council, we can select our marshal, who can increase control in areas. And we're going to click this action in time to stop focusing on organising our army. And we're going to say, we want you to increase control. Anywhere in blue has high control. Anywhere in red has low control. Areas with low control are more likely to rebel, and they also generate you less levies and less money. So, realistically, what we should actually be doing is boosting control in our capital, because for some reason it's a bit lower than it should be. But just for the sake of gameplay here, I'm going to tell our marshal to increase control here. And you can see that what the existing control level is 45 out of 100. So it's going to take him 3 years with his skill level to get that control back up to where we want it to be. So we'll let him do that, and we'll come back when we've got our truce has expired, because we've already fabricated a claim. We've already got our bishop to fabricate a claim on Dyrrachian again. And then we're going to look at starting our second war and what we need to do about that.